Hello, and welcome to our Zoom tutorial. These days, Zooming has become more and more common for a number of reasons, but I felt like there's been a bit of a jump into this technology without slowing down and covering what exactly Zoom and similar products are, as well as how best to use them. So, join myself, Kimberly, and Cheryl, and Aaliyah as we take a couple minutes to run through how we can best use Zoom. Let's start off with, when someone says they'd like to Zoom, they are interchanging the brand name Zoom with the act of video chatting. So if someone says, let's have a Zoom, they just are trying to say, I want to have a video chat with you. We also refer to a Zoom event as a meeting. This may sound like a formal phrasing, especially if you're just meeting up with some friends, but it is simply the terminology of having a video chat together. Opting to Zoom provides the options for all parties to have their videos on or have them off. And then you can always pop back on again. To do this, they simply click on the stop video icon, or you might just have a camera icon in the bottom left of your screen. Some devices may differ, but generally you're going to be looking for a little camera icon. You can also have your mic on or off. Right. So I'm going to ask Cheryl and Aaliyah to mute themselves, but they're going to be speaking. And as you can see, you cannot hear them. But when they turn their mics back on, perfect. Some Zooms, especially for large meetings or events, may automatically have your video or mic forced off, especially if they intend to run the event with more anonymity for the guests. As a host, I can force this mute by clicking on Participants and clicking Mute All. And now you can see they've been muted. If the host or one person is talking, it is usually best to mute yourself during that time, just to avoid any extra background noise, like a dog barking or maybe a neighbor mowing their lawn. Also, to be the best Zoom guest, try to have no music or other extra noises happening in your background, even if you are the one that's talking. It just can create a bit of feedback and also kind of interesting noises that don't quite get through your device the way that you might intend for them to. You will always have the option to have your camera and mic off. No one can force your camera or mic to be turned on for the whole meeting. So you always have that flexibility that if you would like the privacy of having your camera and mic off, you just click those icons and off you go. When you join a Zoom, you have the option to create an account or preset some details. Or you can join as a guest and set up your preferences once you've joined. Over here, I have a bit of a screenshot for you. When you first join a Zoom, this may be what the invitation looks like. You'll have a bit of text that indicates the day and the time of the Zoom, and then this blue writing is your link that tells you how to get into the Zoom. There will often be these details of a meeting ID and passcode, which you may or may not actually need. Very often you don't need those, but it can depend on the device and the style of the meeting that you're joining. You may also see these phone numbers that might come through in the invitation. Very often you won't actually need those phone numbers. They're just there as an extra option if the sound or the mic on your device doesn't quite work. So I get a pop-up that says, join with computer audio. That's because I'm on a computer. So if you're on a different device, it may say something slightly different. Now, the audio on my computer is just fine. The speakers work well, the mic works well. So I'm happy to join with computer audio. But if for any reason the mic or the speakers on your device were not ideal, you can use that phone call option. And what will happen is you use your actual phone to call that phone number, enter that meeting ID and passcode details, and then you'll hear the audio come through your phone, perhaps put your phone on speaker, but you'll see the video of what's happening in the Zoom on your device. So you'll be using two devices in tangent. Sometimes there is a little bit of a delay, so I do recommend trying to use the mic and the speaker on the device that you're using the actual Zoom video portion. But if you need to, it's an option to use a separate device. So, as I mentioned, you have the option of having a free account or joining as a general guest. If you want to set yourself up with a free account, then that allows you to preset a few details, which might be best, especially if you're going to be doing more than one Zoom in the near future. You can preset things like the name that's going to come up or a picture that might come up when you don't have your video on. As you can see here, this is my little picture that I have in the background when I don't have my video on. So at least somebody can see me and they don't just see nothing. On this one, this is actually what it looks like when I don't have any video and I don't have any picture. My name's still there. I can change that name to say anything as well, but at least it gives me some more anonymity or privacy if I just don't need everybody to know who I am or what I look like. But again, you can preset an image, and that image could be anything that you like. So to set up a free account, you would just go to zoom.us on your web browser and click sign up for free. And you'll be prompted to give a couple basic details. Your birth year, just because I think you have to be over 18 at this point, maybe over 16 in order to have a Zoom account. And then it'll also ask you for your best email address. This is going to be how you actually log into Zoom. So choose an email address that you actually have access to, because the next screen will then send a verification code to that email, and you'll need to enter that in within 10 minutes in order to proceed to the next step. You'll be prompted to set up a password and to enter your basic name, and then you'll be ready to go. Once you're in, this is what your Zoom profile will look like, or your Zoom dashboard, if you will. You have down the left side here a few menu options, including home, profile, etc. The profile area is where you can preset those details I referred to. That's where you can change your photo, just here. And you can press edit over on the right side here and change what your name comes up as and a few other details. If you want to use your free account that you've created, before you join a Zoom, make sure you've logged in on your device to that Zoom account, because then if you click your invitation, that blue link in that invitation to join a Zoom, after you've already logged in, then Zoom will detect that you have an account and it'll pop you straight in and use all of those settings. There's a few more details that you can play around with on your profile under the settings area, but you don't really need to change most of those things unless you're going to be the actual host. You're welcome to play around with those details and see what works best for you, but it may not be what you need. Once you are in the Zoom, you can choose how you view and how you are viewed. So as I mentioned before, you can take your video off and not have a photo and just have your name pop up there. You can have no video on and have a photo, or you can have your video turned on and be present. In the upper right-hand corner, you have a view icon. If you click on this, you have the option to have speaker, gallery, immersive, hide, self-view, hide non-video participants, and full screen. Whatever is going to work for you for the meeting that you're in, that's what you choose. It doesn't affect anybody else. It just affects what you see. Personally, I prefer gallery, which is what I'm on now, because then I can see everybody. And usually I'm the host, so I like to see everybody at one time. But if you're not the host, then very often you may prefer speaker. If I pop over to speaker, then someone else says, "Blur," and then, "Hi." There we go. So we had a slight delay, but you can see that as soon as somebody else talked, then it popped over to them speaking, became the major face on the screen. It will stay that way because I'm the host. It's staying on Aaliyah. Hi, Aaliyah. We still see you. Until somebody else spoke, just because I'm set as the host. But if you were just a viewer, it would be popping back and forth between whoever is actually speaking. If you are using your phone, you may have a slightly different view than what I have here because I'm on a computer on this side of the screen. Over here, I have a couple screenshots for you. So when I have the Zoom just on my phone, it can look like this, which looks like you can't really do anything. However, if I click anywhere on the screen, then at the bottom here, this menu pops up, and that's where my mute and my video icon is, as well as the option to leave, which is important to know how to do. Yes, so you just have to actually click anywhere on the screen, and then you will get that menu. If you want to change how you're viewing, as we discussed that speaker version or gallery version, you actually just swipe to the right. And see these little dots here? These are all the different views that you will have. And if you just swipe across the screen on your phone, you'll be given gallery view, which is on the left here, or swipe again and you'll get the speaker view. So additionally, you can play around with how people see you if you do have your video on by clicking or hovering over your image and clicking on these three dots, and you should have some options to either blur your background or choose a virtual background. As you can see, Cheryl's made hers black and white, and Aaliyah's blurred her background. There's a couple other settings you can play around with. You can preset, some photos in the background, and people will not know where you are or what's going on. And you can also have a natural background, as you can see. There are a few other settings and details you can choose in Zoom, but the basics that we've discussed so far will get you into Zoom and feeling cozy. Feel free to poke around in the menu to see what the other settings do. You can always make a free account and set up a meeting with yourself and just play around with the settings there. Why not? The only difference, too, that I will mention is when you have a free account, you are limited as a host to only have a meeting for about 1 hour at the time of this recording anyway. Zoom may change those settings. But since I have a paid subscription, I can have a Zoom for as long as I want. But if you are a guest at a Zoom and you have a free subscription and the Zoom that you're attending is longer than an hour, there's no problem. It's only the host that needs to have a paid subscription if the Zoom is going to go longer than 1 hour. Otherwise, you can just hang out as long as you like. If you have any questions about using Zoom, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We know this is quite new for most, and we are more than happy to help. But good luck and all the best.